Cloudy and mainly dry this evening and tonight with overnight lows of 7 to 9 degrees. Now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Welcome back to our Ichinulloch Naman programme, our special show today brought to you by LIDL, supporting the LGFA and work done at grassroots and ladies football. Now we're moving on to our special LIDL LGFA panel, and it is ladies football between now and the next hour, and God knows whatever else we're going to be talking about. I'm joined here by Tipperary woman Aishling Moloney, Carla Rowe from Dublin, and National Development Manager of the LGFA, Lynn Savage. And Aishling, am I right in saying you're also a LIDL ambassador? You go around preaching the gospel?
I think I am, Anna. Trying to do a bit of Anna. It's great though. It's a privilege to be involved with LIDL, and it's even better at this time with ladies football as well. And the way it's going at the minute, it's really going in a positive direction. So it's a massive privilege for me to be even involved with them.
It's been a good year for both yourself and Carla. Different grades, but same result at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think we're friends now, but I don't know if we're going to be friends now on the 26th of January. But yeah, look, it was brilliant. We're delighted to be back up senior. We are where we want to be now, but it's up to us now to try to stay there. And I suppose that's going to take an extra effort from everyone back home. But look, we're delighted to be there now, and hopefully we can stay where we are.
Carla, have you stopped singing yet?
Yes. When the reality check came that we were going back to training, I think you have to put it to the side and realise that's the start of another year, and start putting in the hard work. The first game is 3 weeks away against Tipperary, so you get back to it fairly quick.
When do you go back to training? Once the whole celebrations and everything are over, when do you go back?
So after we finished with Dublin, our club was still going, so we had club matches up until the start of November, and then from November to December, generally you've nothing. There's a bit of interpros there, and you can do your own training, but our first session back is tomorrow. So.
Oh, and what will that entail?
We're in the gym tomorrow night, so I'd say it'll just kind of getting us all back into the state of mind that we're back training now, and eating well, and I suppose looking after ourselves.
And would I be right in saying that I have the perception that the likes of Ken Robinson has your plan individualised, so you must eat this amount and you must lift that amount? Is that the way it's going?
Can't give away too much now. Ken is brilliant. He'd be so good. You come into the gym, he's ready to go. You know what you have to do yourselves. So it's really maximising the time that we have. You know, you have an hour in the gym, and it's very important. So he's brilliant at that. Same way on the days for warm-ups and our mobilisation, he looks after all of that. And then we have Kate McDade is our Kate is her name, is our nutritionist, and she's been really good last year coming on board and doing a lot with us, so we'll be well looked after, and when we get back there now tomorrow.
Does that bother you at all, Aishling, hearing all that military and might and ammunition being thrown at Dublin?
I know, I'll keep quiet now. I know, look, Dublin are amazing. Like, obviously they're starting to follow Cork now in their footsteps. They've done 3 in a row, so I think it's, sorry Carla, but it's our time now that someone kind of,
like Galway.
Galway, no. Kind of gets up to their standard. But look, you need these teams in this competition as well. Like, they're setting a standard for all of us. Like, even though we are playing them in the first round, I probably would prefer not to. But look, it's a lesson for us, and we'll learn an awful lot from it as well. So it's brilliant. Lynn,
you're the National Development Manager, and I know I hate to go down the road of talking about women's sport, because I just think we're beyond that now. It's just sport. But at the same time, the growth of LGFA, when you think an organisation that only began in the 1970s?
Yeah, 1974.
And the growth, and then the speed of the growth over the last few years in particular, the fact that it'd be rare now to come across a little girl who didn't play football.
Yeah, definitely. The growth is phenomenal over the last number of years, and I think regardless of programmes and everything else, I think girls just want to play football, and a big part of that has been to seeing stars like what's on either side of me here, inspiring the young girls to actually want to play. And like, I think that's what even today is about, is getting to young girls being able to listen to their role models, their heroes throughout the day, and want to aspire to be them. And I think that's a big thing. Is, I know when I was growing up myself, a lot of the times it was male role models is all you were seeing.
Even from Loud.
They were from Loud, just about. But definitely that's
we've just thrown Loud into the bin there already, Aishling. It's only 7 years.
But it is a huge thing now that they can see their own role models and actually want to be them. And I think that's a big part of what LIDL has done, and TG Cahir putting it on our screens, and the girls as ambassadors in different programmes. They're just going out there now to talk to the kids, to teenagers at their level, and now they're not untouchable. They're people that they can be and become, and that's so important. And I think the growth's going to continue, hopefully. But yeah, it's the opportunities there now for any girl who wants to play to try and do it.
When you probably took on that job at the LGFA, it probably developed and grew into something you probably didn't expect it to on your first day when you sat behind that desk.
Yeah, 100%. Like I played with Loud myself for 15 years, so the limbs were done. It was time to go a different avenue. But like, did I ever think we'd see the numbers coming through? No. Did I ever think we'd see the numbers in Croke Park? Certainly not. So it definitely has grown into something much different. We've had to think differently as well, because although our main remit is to make sure the sport is there for anyone, we have an onus to look after the people who are coming in to play our sport as well. And that's things like looking after youth mental health that we're trying to do through programmes with LIDL. It's different avenues. It's not just now about being able to kick a ball. Yes, it's very, very important that they can do it, but it's that the coaches are looking after the players as people and not just as players. And I think that's so important. You hear the routines the girls have to go through. If somebody wasn't looking after them as people, they're not going to excel as players either. So I think how we've had to develop as a sport has had to be very, very different to previous years.
Yeah, and I think that's probably true of all sports, male or female. People are looking at it more holistically, which is good, but it brings challenges as well.
Huge challenges, and huge challenges on the type of coaches that are needed. And I know we've tried to change pathways and competition structures that maybe were traditional structures, and hit major barriers, because for maybe some of the coaches who were involved, it was very much about win at all costs, and win at all costs at underage does not necessarily mean you're going to have them still playing at all at adult level. So they're barriers that we're trying to overcome, and frustrations, being honest, in many cases. But we have to stop treating kids as adults and have different pathways and competition structures in place that's applicable to their own age group to ensure they still want to be playing at adult level, at whatever level that is for them.
Yeah, they were just discussing coaching. They were at a coaching panel the hour before you guys came on board. And that's the thing, isn't it? Coaches, a lot of the time, they're not trained, and it's not their fault. They're doing their best because they're volunteers. They're trying to give a bit of their time, and they mightn't be the right person for the role. So that's a challenge in itself. It's one, getting the players, but two, getting the right coach and keeping them there. Yeah,
getting the right coach is key. If you can get the right coach, the player, whatever sport it is, they'll want to stay in. And I've seen it with my own nephew at the minute. He's playing multiple sports, and the one that he's probably gravitating towards is not necessarily because he's the best playing at it, it's because of the coach that's involved with that team and why he wants to do it. So for us, it's that we have excellent coaches in the sport. We've really excellent coaches. You can see that from the girls coming up, but also there's some not so excellent that are the ones that we need to keep working with education wise. But I suppose a big part that we've worked on over the last number of years is getting a number of players and past players back involved in coach education, because they've been that girl and they've known what the challenges were or anything else, and maybe the coach listening to them. And I mean, the things like our Gaelic for Teens, which is delivered by actual players, has made a huge difference, because now they're saying, well, okay, it's not, well, that's research in America or that's research in Australia. It's actually our own girls telling us what's needed. And I think it's so important that when we are looking for coaches, and I've said it before, if you can't get a coach for your team, maybe it's better waiting a couple of weeks and getting the right coach rather than just accepting somebody, because that could be detrimental to the team that you have. So I think coaching is key, and I'm sure for the girls, they've probably a number of coaches that they'll remember as being the person who instilled something in them to want to keep going, and that's so important.
I'm after seeing both of them there just nodding really, really strongly. I feel like you both have like good coach stories to tell.
Yeah, well, I suppose from listening to what Lynn said, even it frustrates me so much when I'm training on the field and I hear coaches roaring at younger kids when they're below the age of 16. I think, as Lynn touched off there, it's all for enjoyment. Carla would probably agree. Absolutely, from going to schools, you probably see that it needs to be like that. Yeah,
and you have to, at that age, you might keep some of the very competitive girls who want that and they want to keep going, like probably myself or Aishling, but I think you have to look at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is to try and keep as many young girls in the sport as possible. And by having that really competitive nature at a young age, as I said, you might keep 1 or 2 or 3, but you might lose 10 or 12. And so being able to just encourage them, let them have fun and enjoy the competition, win or lose, doesn't matter. You'll definitely keep more girls in the sport.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. I'm just thinking about last year in particular. It was a great year for football, for the fan watching. I mean, like I said, both of you had great ends to the year. Very different competitions in one sense, the level and that kind of stuff.
Different matches.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, but this is what I mean now. Aishling, you're up with the big girls, and that's been hard for Tipperary.
Is that which?
It's been challenging for Tipperary anytime you guys are up against, the big traditional guns. Like, so what's going to be different this time? or what have you done, or is it just suck it and see how it goes?
Well, like, I think the main difference between junior, intermediate and senior is definitely the pace at which the game is played. Even from playing, when we were up senior and from playing Division 1 this year, I'm going to go back to Dublin again. We played them in the league. You lose the ball up in the forward line, it's in the back of the net, and it's just that game of inches. And it's something that we need to tweak on now. Like, we probably are playing at a lower pace last year, in intermediate, and we need to start upping the pace now a bit going into senior. But it's going to take a lot more than that, I suppose. Back home in Tipperary, like, we've been intermediate the last, I don't know how many years. I think we've only ever been up senior twice. So I think the youth that's there in a minute, we're adamant to become a senior team and to stay there. And look, whatever comes. But as you're touching off there, it's up to us to take the initiative amongst ourselves, and the coach can only do so much for us. So it's up to us girls. Even watching Carla and them, like, I'm around DCU and you'd see them, like, they're setting the standards amongst themselves within the group. So we need to start setting that standard amongst ourselves and then see where it takes us.
Does that help you? Because I know you are in DCU and you're living with people and you're in and around Dublin. So you see the standard they're at, so you're bringing your own training up to that standard. I mean, in one sense, it must be a killer when you suddenly realise what I thought was working hard mightn't actually be that hard. But then you bring that information back to Tipperary.
Yeah, it definitely does. Even speaking from the girls who are in Australia, like, they would have took an awful lot from that environment and brought it home. I know Aishling in particular took an awful lot of stuff from Australia and brought it home to Tip. But I think no matter what environment you're in, if you're in a working environment, if you're in a community environment, going out in tidy towns, picking up rubbish, no matter what it is, if you see a person next to you putting in a great effort in what you are, you're going to take a look at yourself and you're going to say, I have to buck up here. So that definitely is an aspect, being around DCU. And I suppose in any college, really, like, DCU is great. You have it in UCC, you have it in UL. Look, UL have won the last, I don't know how many O'Connor Cups. Like, so I think it's more so playing against these players. Even the league final there recently, like, we got an awful beating from UL, so that's something that we have to learn, playing against some of the best players in the country. So it's a learning curve for us, really. Yeah,
because I remember the day when Tipperary won the All-Ireland final, and you were all rightfully looking delighted and celebrating. And in the back of my mind thinking, I'm delighted for them, and I was delighted to see you smiling away, looking delighted with yourself from Croke Park. And I'm thinking, jeepers, I hope they enjoy the winter because they've got a hard year coming up. Is that, would that be fair?
Yeah, that's fair to say. I suppose there's probably so much anger in us from coming back down the year before, and look,
great, a ragey Aishling.
Look, it kind of frustrated me last year, people going on about Tip being down intermediate and that the relegation battle should change. It shouldn't. Like, we lost the matches. We were out there ourselves and we lost. We didn't get over the line. It's our own fault. We got ourselves there. It's up to us now as a group, collectively, to stay up senior. But look, winning the intermediate, it was unbelievable. It was great to be back up. I really enjoyed playing this year. It was so nice to win it. But last 2 or 3 minutes in the game, when I kind of knew personally we had it, I was kind of thinking to myself, being like, this is great, but there's another step onto this now. This is just a stepping stone for us, hopefully in order to stay up there. But
are you saying you didn't even allow yourself 100% to enjoy that moment? You just had that in the back of your head?
Probably not, being honest, no. We won it 2 years ago and I kind of felt I'd been there, done that. I'm kind of, even no matter what it is, like, it was kind of second best for us. We were obviously the best at that grade in the country, but it wasn't the be all and end all. It was great and we really appreciated it, and like, it was our main aim throughout the year. But it's not me downgrading it. It's just we saw it as a stepping stone. If we won, it was a stepping stone for us to get up where we want to be, and then that's where the hard work is going to start now. So look, if we don't put in the hard work, it's not going to get January. Like, you have to put in the hard work. So it just comes without saying, really. As I say, it's like going to mass. And when you're going training, you don't think of it. You just go and you put in your hard earns and come home. And
geez, you must pray hard at mass.
A few times that I do go to mass.
The rosary beads get well worn. Yeah. Carla, now, I know people look at Dublin, we all have very short memories. We're saying, oh, the Dublin ladies, they're as mighty as anyone else and nobody can beat them and they're hard to beat, and look at the culture they have and look at the money and look at all that. But it's not that long ago you guys were the women bereft in Croke Park because of Cork.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, it is short-lived and people forget about it, about 3 years losing in a row to Cork and by small margins. And that's something we don't forget about. Other people may be saying, oh, you're already getting 4 in a row and this kind of talk, but we don't forget that. We had 3 years of really difficult years where you're questioning everything, and much like Aishling, like, you know yourself, you're not getting there and you need to go back and look at everything and see what you're doing wrong and what do we need to change. You do have to take the wins when they come, and absolutely like be delighted with them and really enjoy them. But again, it comes to the start of another year, and that trophy's not ours now. It's gone. It's not Dublin's. It's the start of a new year. Come tomorrow evening at 6 o'clock, and we have to start fighting again every training session, every match to get it back, and hopefully get back to September.
What changed for Dublin? Was it? I don't accept the argument that Cork got a bit weaker. Yes, obviously teams change and that kind of stuff, but Dublin also kept evolving. So what was the difference?
I think we did have 3 years of development. Like, through those losses, I know losses are never good, but you do have to learn. And if there's one thing we took out of them, is every year we lost, we learned something. And it mightn't have been enough for 3 years. We didn't learn enough one year to win the next year, but we learnt and players developed. Like myself, the first year I went in was my first year senior, and I remember giving a ball away. Geraldine O'Flynn got it, put it over the bar, and Cork won by a point. So those things.
How do you recover from that?
Yeah,
That's me in the league last year.
Like, those things stick with you, is exactly what you just have to learn from them. You have to know that every ball you give away, as Aishling was saying, they either end up, the good teams, they end up as a score, they end up as an assist or a goal or something like that. And it's just taking those learnings and moving forward.
And when that happened, just use that as an example, because I mean, nobody's perfect. Even the best player in the world at any sport will make a mistake and things happen. Like, did you go in the dressing room? Were you apologising? Were people giving out to you? Was it forgotten about? How did you guys deal with stuff like that?
No, when you go in that dressing room in September, nobody's speaking if you're on the other side of the coin. There was when in September, those 3 years, you just go into the dressing room and I suppose there's girls crying or their hands in their heads, and there's nothing really anyone can say to you. I don't think anyone ever pointed blame at any single player or manager or anything like that. We were never like that. You just have to learn to live with it and not make that mistake again. And yes, you do make the mistakes, but I suppose minimising them and seeing what you can do to ensure they don't happen again.
And when does that gnaw go away? I can only imagine if that was me, I'd be thinking about and brooding about it. Can you remember? Do you still think about it?
Yeah,
even
it doesn't.
now?
Every year I can pick different things out of different finals that I would have done wrong. My second year I was on frees. I missed 2 frees and we lost by 2 points. So those are things that you have to just keep them with you and also learn to move forward with them. And when I'm in schools talking to girls, I do tell them you can't be too hard on yourself. As much as you do need to remember them and recall them, you also have to remind yourself of what you have achieved. And to be a free taker was a big deal for me. So you have to, I suppose, praise yourself on those small steps and just learn and move on.
When we're talking about the All-Ireland finals, it was a horrible day. Actually, the day got worse as it went on. I think you had some sunshine, Aishling, when you won, but by the time Dublin and Galway came out, the day had gone completely miserable. But Lynn, I suppose it might be a good time to ask, because you obviously watched it from a neutral point of view, so to speak. It was an odd final, wasn't it? We built it up to a lot.
It was, yeah.
For those who don't remember, it nearly went to half-time before score went over the bar.
I remember looking at it myself, just going, somebody score, somebody score, anybody at this stage score. But yeah, it was an odd sort of a final, but saying that, like, I think the condition and everything of the athletes now is just, it's exceptional, and like, it nearly becomes, and I think for the last number of years, like, it's known as a free-flowing game, and I think it still is. But on days like that, sometimes tactics take over in a way, and that here we just need to get to the end of the line here in relation to days like that. And maybe that's what happened on that day. There was quite a lot of defensive work, and you also have to praise the defences that were there. Like, I mean, they were throwing their bodies where you wouldn't have thrown your feet or anything at it. But it was a very strange day, and I suppose particularly because one of the compliments that's been given of the sport is how free-flowing it is and the high scoring. But if you look overall at the games throughout the year, yes, you do want your pinnacle to be one of high scoring, and it wasn't necessarily, but there was exceptional football throughout the year last year, and hopefully with the new structures in place this year, it's going to bring more of those. Can
you explain that to us? Because I was looking at it, and when you don't see it written in a piece of paper, it doesn't make as much sense as when somebody's saying it out loud.
Probably throw myself into the works here now. Yeah, the change has been made that there's 2 groups of 6. So there'll be more games, which I think is something that the players have asked for, instead of, I suppose, more training sessions, that there was more times to play a higher calibre of player at all times. So we should be seeing a lot more real high standard football throughout the summer, which I think is important. Again, going back to girls being able to see their heroes and everything else. But it'll only be the top 2 on each side that will go to semi-finals. So it'll be a bitter fight to the finish.
That's what I was wondering at the end. I wasn't sure. So it's literally just the top two.
And the bottom two will be in the relegation playoff. So every team should be in it till the end. Now, it's hard to know until it's played. Like everything else, I think we've been innovative to try new things. Will it work? We don't know. But if you don't try, you never find out.
Because the way, now obviously, Carla, you're going to tell me what every athlete tells me. We pay no attention to media in the run-up of a big game. But all the talk was, coming up to that final, was that more than likely Dublin would go into fifth gear and they would outpace Galway and put points over the bar, especially you, because you like your free-flowing football and you like giving a little bit of space. You didn't get the space on the day. Was that because that Dublin just maybe were put off a bit by the weather or the experience, or just having an off day, or was it that Galway didn't let you play the kind of football? Because even Galway played a style we weren't used to seeing them, which was kind of dour.
Yeah, I think the whole day we definitely didn't play it, and I don't think it was the best reflection on what ladies football has been. I think we've been playing absolutely unbelievable games, every team across the country, and the two previous All-Ireland finals were unbelievable spectacles. I think the weather was a massive part of it, and then as well you have to give credit to the Galway defence. When the weather is already wet and slippy, it's hard enough. You have to slow things down to get the ball. You can't concentrate on what you're thinking of doing next. You have to just concentrate on catching the ball. And then the defending that Galway was doing and the players that they had, they were just, every ball they had, they wanted to get a hand in or get a touch in, and that was making it even slower. And then when that happens, we have to also, I suppose, change our game. You can't just keep going with a game plan if it's not going to work on that given day. So I don't think it consciously happened. We didn't say, well, we're going to go out and set up defensively. We'd never change our game plan on the day of a game, but it probably did happen a bit that it just had to go to that bit of it was going to be a messy day, a day in the dirt kind of thing, and that's just what you had to do to get over the line.
Just a quick reminder here to anybody tuning in, you can text us on 53106 or tweet us at Off The Ball, or come to us at any of our social channels. We are all over the place when it comes to social. And just a quick reminder that this is the LIDL LGFA panel, and today's show is brought to you by LIDL, proud supporters of women in sport and the 20 by 20 campaign. One great success of ladies football, Aishling, I don't know if you've ever been tempted yourself, Australia. Lots of them going out.
Yeah, Australia, there is lots going out, and to be honest, it'd be interesting now to see with the league, is it going to take a bit of, is the standard going to drop a bit? But Australia, me, I have been asked a few times, but look, it's not right timing for me out of college and stuff like that, so it's not something I'm really looking at.
That's the thing, isn't it, Lynn? Because the Australia thing, well, in one sense you look at it and you go, isn't it great that they're coming to us, that our players are such great calibre? But on the other hand, like we just mentioned, the league in particular, we might see it might affect it, or it might not, we don't know.
Yeah, like it's difficult to say. I was out there, I think May 12 months ago, and I actually visited the AFL headquarters up before the women's had started.
Oh, so you opened the door.
Yeah, I'm taking the blame now. But it was just to see, I suppose, the structures and everything. But like for ourselves, I know people have been critical of us maybe retweeting fabulous scores from some of the players and stuff in Australia.
Well, why wouldn't you?
I mean, we have to, because there's still players who are coming back to play in our sport, and it's so important that we create an environment that they feel extremely welcome to come back into it. I'm sorry, anyone who says they wouldn't take that opportunity if they got it is lying through their teeth, because it's professional or semi-professional chance to go out for a number of months. I suppose where the difficulty will come in is if they do extend the season and it starts to overlap into the championship. I think it's not that it'll be a difficulty on us, but I think it's going to be a challenge on players deciding are they going to go or not. And that has been something that some of the players who have gone have said to us, and that yes, they're missing the league and the league's important to them, but they would hate to be missing the championship. So I do think if the AFLW season extends, I think it's going to be a harder question probably posed on players as to will it now fit into their schedules, because a lot of them are so committed to their counties here, and I mean their county jersey it's like for international athletes wearing their international vest. Their county jersey is the high standard they have here, and a lot of them don't want to miss that. So I think it'll be questions on them as to whether they want to give that up if the season does extend. At the minute it's working in that they're getting to both. But I do agree with the league, it's tough on a number of counties that are maybe missing a number of players. If you think even club-wise as well, the two Kellys, for instance, gone from their club. I mean, that's tough for a number of clubs. But as I said, it is opportunities. There's players going and playing other sports that aren't AFLW, they're on soccer scholarships or whatever. I think the fact that so many have gone through this is why it's hitting the headlines. But for ourselves, really hope the players do really well and come back injury-free, ready for the championship is the big thing.
Well, that's it. If you had a deep panel, I'd be thinking, now again, not every county has that luxury, but if you had a deep panel, you might say, let them off for the league. They're getting conditioned, they're getting stronger, they're being full-time athletes. So long, touch wood, as they come back with no injuries, I'll have this refined machine coming in for championship. Is that too simplistic?
Yeah, if it was that simple, I suppose it'd be easy. But I suppose for counties, I know my own county, I'm going to go back to Louth now. I seen you just slagged them earlier. But Kate Flood is obviously a massive loss for Louth for the league. But what an opportunity for a player from Louth to get over and play AFLW as well. So I suppose it's trying to see it both ways. But yeah, hopefully Kate will come back stronger than ever and bring Louth into the next level, which is intermediate for them, because they've really struggled any time they've gone up there. So yes, hopefully the counties will utilise it and I suppose welcome these players with open arms to get them up another level when it comes to the championship. But for some counties it'll be a bigger struggle than others. I fully agree with that.
Carla, would you be tempted to ever go, or would you be tempted if somebody came to you and said, I want you to do ice skating for 6 months, you're going to be a professional athlete, I'm going to do a Kevin Kilban on it or something? Would you ever be tempted to try another sport if it was dangled in front of you in that kind of nice lifestyle, sunshine, a full-time athlete, no having to work? Well, you are working, but just not work.
Yeah, I think right now, currently, no. I don't think it's something I'd say no to in the future. But just personally, I wouldn't be interested now. And the fact that at Dublin, we saw how long it can take to go and win, and that the heartache and the pain it does bring. So while you're winning and while your county is doing well, I think I'll fully commit to that to make sure that it mightn't come again. We might not win another All-Ireland for another, I don't know how many years. I mightn't see another one for my whole career. So while it's there, I think I'll put my 100% in there, and then what's left after that, I might see if it was an option and then go from there.
And those who watch Dublin play football will say, oh, come on now, Carla, you have a few more. But listen, you've committed to being here till 6 o'clock
We don't think that.
We do need to take a break, but stay with us. We're going to come back to more of our LIDL LGFA panel.
Off the Ball on News Talk. Lunchtime Live.
One of the other things that we talked about on the show today was the listener email that came in saying, happily in a relationship, lovely man, talking about getting married, but real doubts to do with the fact that he is a heavy drinker. Grace, what's your advice to our emailer?
I married the alcoholic. He was my best friend. He's a lovely guy. And it became so bad that I became an alcoholic myself. Don't marry him. I know you love him, and I know it's going to break your heart to leave him, but you know your own concerns. Don't do it.
Lunchtime Live with Ciara Kelly.
With the matter private.
Weekdays from midday on News Talk.
Productive afternoons with Harvey Norman. Need more you time? Ask about our range of large capacity washing machines with quick wash functions in Harvey Norman today. Now, where's the remote?
Go, Harvey, go! The Sport Ireland campus Blanchardstown is the home of Irish sport, not just for our athletes, but for you and the community. For families, check out our kids' camps, sport academies and birthday parties. For adults, why not join our newly refurbished gym with a 50-metre swimming pool, or book one of our world-class indoor or outdoor facilities, including our athletics track, sports pitches and courts. And for companies, check out our team building days, conference facilities and events. All this and more at sportirelandcampus.ie.
Blocked nose, sore throat, headache. The symptoms of a cold or flu can really knock the stuffing out of you. So it's good to know that Nurofen Cold and Flu has the power to relieve those aches and pains for up to 8 hours. Nurofen Cold and Flu contains an anti-inflammatory and a decongestant, which should help you bounce back. Nurofen Cold and Flu, for effective relief of cold and flu symptoms. Nurofen Cold and Flu film-coated tablets contain ibuprofen and pseudoephedrine hydrochloride. Always read the label. 8-hour relief refers to ibuprofen.
At McDonald's, we're always working to give you choice in your Happy Meal. Like when we made it possible to swap out fries for a veg or fruit bag. Or when we introduced grilled chicken as another wrap option. And now we're launching the new Veggie Dippers, perfect for dipping in our tomato ketchup. These are just a few of the ways we're always working on our Happy Meal. Served after 11 a.m.
Mattresses-delivered.ie. Nationwide delivery within 48 hours for free. That's mattresses-delivered.ie. Lowest prices guaranteed. Don't forget the hyphen. T's and C's apply.
Ah, Socrates. Solved the hearing aid paradox yet?
No, Plato. I still don't understand how a sale of tiny hearing aids can also be massive.
It's simple relativity.
Oh, shut up, Albert.
But it's true. Specsavers have tiny hearing aids with advanced Bluetooth technology. And now you can save a massive €400 on selected hearing aids. Like a mouse relative to an elephant, yeah?
A mouse?
The hearing aid sale at Specsavers. Tiny hearing aids, massive savings. Terms and conditions apply. Sale ends 31st of January. Ask in store for details.
At Colm Quinn BMW and Mini, we're growing in 2020, opening new retail centres in Drogheda and Sligo, making Colm Quinn your home for BMW and Mini. We stock the largest range of new and used models in the country, offer impeccable customer service, plus finance options from BMW Financial Services, starting from just 1.9%. Find out what we can offer you. Visit Colm Quinn BMW and Mini in Athlone or Galway, or search Colm Quinn BMW or Colm Quinn Mini for more. Finance subject to status. Over 18s, Irish residents only. Terms and conditions apply. A guarantee may be required. BMW Financial Services Ireland DAC is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Shafal Tadashtor Ichinolog Naman special here, and we're currently in the middle of our LIDL LGFA panel. Just to bring you up to date, Curtis Jones has scored for Liverpool in the Merseyside derby. It's currently 1-0. He scored there in the 72nd minute, so not much FA Cup magic to be seen so far this afternoon. But speaking of magic, if you're from Tipperary, there might be some magic. Borrisoleigh have won their All-Ireland semi-final against St Thomas's, and Valerie Wheeler was there for us.
It's full time here at the LIT Gaelic grounds. St Thomas's 1-14, Borrisoleigh 1-21. In front of an attendance of 4,192, Borrisoleigh are through to the All-Ireland Senior Club Championship final. Heading in at half-time with 2 points up made them grow in confidence as they returned from half-time by adding an additional 1 goal and 10 points to the side's tally. In the 10th minute, sides were level as Dara Burke fired a long range go at the post and popped it over, making it 110 to 13 points. Shortly after, St Thomas's were awarded a free for Darburg to stand over and take his team 1 point ahead. It was tit for tat in the second half as Brendan Maher gets his chance of free to level the sides again. With interruptions of a scared Cash running riot along the goalmouth of Borrisoleigh, it didn't stop them getting 5 points in a row with no return from St Thomas's. A full-time whistle being blown seconds just after James Devaney rattled the back of the net to seal the deal for the Tipperary side. In the last 6 fixtures, including today's, Borrisoleigh have been the underdogs but have denied the favourites a chance of getting their hands on an All-Ireland final championship since 2013. Johnny Kelly jumping for joy on the sideline as he guides his team to an All-Ireland club final. As it came down to the wire in the end, sending hearts racing on the sideline and in the stand. Live from the Gaelic grounds in the AIB All-Ireland Senior Hurling Club Championship semi-final, it's St Thomas's 1-14, Borrisoleigh 1-21. I'm Valerie Wheeler for Off the Ball.
There you go. Now we know who's going to be in the club finals in both football and hurling. Speaking of football of a different code, I'm joined here at the moment by our LIDL LGFA panel. I'm joined amongst them by Aishling Moloney from Tipperary. As we were on the break there, we were watching the goal going in, Liverpool and Everton. You're not a big football fan when it comes to soccer football.
Soccer, not football, yeah. No, I can't really watch it, to be honest. It wouldn't be my cup of tea, but I was saying they're mad. They seem like mad soccer fans here, but if I was really stuck now, I'd sit down. But I'd have
what
to
would make you watch it now?
If there was nothing else on television.
If it was, say, Champions League and Coronation Street, what wins?
Oh, Champions League, have to be.
Okay, so Coronation Street is worse than the worst.
Yeah, that's very bad.
Okay, and if it was, just so I'm getting at your level here, so what if it was an old Gaelic football game being shown? It's like GA Gold on TG Cahir or Champions League, what are you watching?
The old GA Gold.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you always that way?
Yeah, always. When I was younger, I used to think I used to support Manchester United, but I never really did. It was just kind of everyone in class did, so I did. But no, I can't. I never really have had much interest in it.
So when you say you used to think, how does that? How do you think you support a team?
I think it was
was the problem.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
It was kind of, the thing to do when you're in primary school. Like, everyone talks about Chelsea, and I thought I was Man United, but I wasn't really the die-hard fan. I kind of had the jersey, knew a bit, but didn't know a great amount, kind of.
Hey,
I think that's called a bandwagon.
Speaking of bandwagons, Dublin ladies football. You're bringing out lots of fans, but also just your reactions there. So I'm guessing, Lynn, you must be a Liverpool fan. Carla, you Man United fan.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you guys go to games?
Yeah, anybody that knows me knows I'm Liverpool crazy. So when that goal went in, just as Carla was speaking, I nearly jumped off the chair.
Yeah, I saw Lynn kind of doing a weird conniption movement there, and I didn't know what was going on. So that's what it was the goal.
That's what it was. It was the goal. Yeah.
I thought she was listening intently to me, but it's just because the TV is over my left shoulder.
So, and would you go, Carla? Would you go to games as well, or?
I've gone to a few Man United games. Yeah, the games I've gone would be January, February kind of time, and we're back training then. So kind of you have to go with training. If they fall on certain days, though, you'd be able to go fly across and come back. Me and a couple of girls. One of the girls, she has an apartment over there in Manchester, so it suits perfectly.
Oh, brilliant! So, Lynn, are you one of those Liverpool fans that even though they're miles ahead of everyone else in the Premier League, that you're convinced something atrocious and terrible is going to happen and they're going to lose it?
I'm not convinced they're going to lose it, but I'm not going to say they're going to win it. But no, I'm fairly confident now. Everything's ready for the end of the season. We have flights and everything booked, but done the same last year. But no, I think they're playing really well at the minute. So fingers crossed. But I'm not going to blow our own trumpet yet.
Aishling, do you even know where Liverpool are in the league?
No, I pay no attention to any of it.
They're first.
I don't even know what the Champions League is or any of that. I don't really know. I haven't.
I think we need to do a special segment with Aishling Moloney watches Champions League and just get her reactions of Gogglebox.
Nothing but cursing at the TV.
Speaking of cursing, that's a good place to bring things back to. We are here talking, obviously, the LIDL LGFA panel. I think we're at the stage now we need to stop calling nearly ladies football. It is football. But by the same token, that means we have to hold you guys to a higher standard, which means if you play poorly, we need to call you out and things like that. Things that possibly weren't happening in women's sport because, one, people weren't watching it or not the crowds they were, and also we just didn't expect a high standard. We do now. Do you guys feel that when you're playing?
Well, first of all, I think if we want to get to equality level, I think if we're playing a game, there should be a right for us to be criticised. I think just because we're women, I don't think we should be sugar-coated. If the level, well, in the last few years, in the last 2 years in particular, the level of football has increased. So I think if we want to get on par where the men's are and want to get rid of like the difference between men and women, we are playing at kind of, well, if we are said to be playing at the same level that they are and doing the same things, well then we rightly should be criticised as well. And I feel once criticism kind of probably does come in amongst journalists and stuff like that, I feel it'll start putting things on a more level playing field. Personally, I don't like I wouldn't like seeing criticism, but I just think that it should be allowed.
Yeah,
not that it should be allowed. No, I'm not saying it should be allowed. Like, I'm not saying it's an okay thing to do, but I think that I just think women are kind of inclined to say, you know, if there's criticism involved, it's kind of, you know, they don't really like it.
Frowned upon.
Frowned upon. Yeah.
That's changing though, I think.
Yeah, I think it's definitely needed. Like,
you know, you're agreeing with me.
I completely disagree.
The way you were looking at me.
Like, you see if rugby teams or Leinster that go out and let's say Rob Kearney in the positions with Ireland, it's called out and everyone knows about it and it's not that elephant in a room, whereas you might, after the All-Ireland finals or whatever, it might be that, oh, it was a great match and it was this, when really it wasn't a great match and it's okay for it to be said because everyone is saying it, so it may as well be put there on paper. I also think then it improves the standard. Like, as a player, I know I wouldn't want to open a newspaper and see, well, Carla Rowe didn't have a good game. The next day you'd be saying, well, I'm not going to allow that to happen again. So
you probably already know it though. When you've had a bad day at the office.
Absolutely. Oh, sure, I'm definitely my biggest critic. So, like, I'd know myself, but I do think it's no harm having it saying out on paper, or the fact that someone played really well, and if you did play really well, everyone knows that, well, she must have, because they don't just tell people she plays well when actually it was decent, it wasn't brilliant.
Yeah, kind of sugarcoating.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's something we've seen, Lynn, over just even the last 2 or 3 years, because there's more journalists going to these games. We know a bit more now about the players, and we know actually she's having an off day, whereas somebody else might come on, wow, look at that woman, swallow that ball. That day's gone now, so that means when Carla makes that mistake and Jordan Flynn grabs the ball, that's going to be talked about.
Yeah, and I think it's driving the players forward, and as you say, probably the fact there's more journalists there. Like, for years we would pay a journalist to be there to distribute the reports to all the newspapers, and in fairness we still continue to do that with National League and everything because there's no one else to get the reports out there. But if you have 8 to 10 journalists or more sitting discussing the game and coming up with their own ideas on it, well then you get a fairer reflection rather than the one report going out and all the newspapers picking it up and putting their own spiel on it. So I think the players want it. They want to know, well, treat us the way it is. But I think equally media wise, like we've seen a huge increase in media over the last year or two, and even with off the ball yourselves and off the bench. With the media comes increased pressure on the players to want to put themselves up on that pedestal. But I think with increased media also, it's to make sure that stuff doesn't go in the media just when something goes wrong.
That was going to be my next thing. That's kind of what happens a lot of the time. We hear things like the Carnacon controversy, the Phantom Point controversy, all that kind of stuff. And Carla looks nervously down on the floor. But that kind of thing, if there was a time, the only time we heard about ladies football was if there was a kind of a good gossip to be told.
It is, and it can be frustrating, being honest. And like even this year, things like, oh, they have a camera person telling them when a player should be sin bin or whatever.
Yes.
But like we went out and said in our rules at Congress, we actually put in a rule about a score assistant, which helps with scores only. And yes, coming from the point and taking feedback on it. I mean, we had to learn, we had to be innovative and come up with something that there's not a Hawkeye on every pitch in the country, but when TG Cahir's there broadcasting live, there is live cameras. So we have somebody who's in the van with Nematon and TG Cahir who can help with scores, but scores only. So I suppose it was frustrating because then in the media it was going, we had people for helping out with other fouls and everything else, which is not the case at all. They do not speak on the microphone at all, apart from the scores. So
no, and I think if people who are knowledgeable were there talking that day, that possibly wouldn't have gone out. But it comes with knowledge and being there.
So it's to get the good stuff. When that was put in about the score assistant, I mean, if that had to get the coverage it deserved, because that was a really innovative thing to do, well then it might not have been confusion throughout the year as to what that person was doing. So that's what I mean about, like, there's so much good stuff being done, and like even the programmes the girls are going around the schools with at the minute, like it's phenomenal the time they're given to try and help teenagers through the LIDL Serious Support Programme. So like it's those good stories that if we can get them out as well, so both on and off the pitch, that there's good stories, and yes, criticise when it needs to be criticised, because that's the only thing that will make us better.
But I think one point actually that I think people watching all kinds of Gaelic games would love more was done, which is the fact that you guys have an assistant in the van. So for scoring, because like you said, Hawkeye exists only in 2 stadiums, so therefore why not have this person in the van when you have the live TV there? Wouldn't you love when you're watching some games over the summer when men are playing and you see there's clearly a score and somebody waves it wide, and sometimes it can happen because of an angle, you know, you're not at the right angle, but the camera is, whereas ladies football actually has that. So you know the Phantom Point, for example, isn't going to happen anymore if the cameras are there.
Yeah, and like it's not infallible either, because the angles can be tough. I've sat in the van myself, got myself out of there fairly swiftly.
Couldn't take the heat, no?
But at least couldn't take the heat. But at least there's a few more angles, and like at the end of the day, like you girls are back training now, so if you're going to get knocked out of a championship because of something that could have been easily looked at on a screen or something, well then I think the players are grateful for as many helps as possible. How
long does it take if you need to go to an assistant in a van? How long does it take?
So if it's very obvious, straight away. If it's a case that the umpires weren't sure, as the referee is running towards the umpires, because they will still use the previous and chat to the umpires, that person in the camera will be looking at a screen replays with TG because they're actually sitting in the van.
Yeah.
So as soon as possible is the thing. It hasn't taken very long at all so far.
You don't buy the argument then that it could slow down play, because I know that's been part of the discussion in other sports and other Gaelic games as well. Oh, it could slow things down too much. You guys haven't found that it has.
It could certainly slow it down if it was going to be for every call, but it's not. It's literally for the ones that are not obvious or that clearly were waved wide that should have been a point, or the opposite way around, which later on could end up knocking somebody out of a championship.
And who calls that then? Is it that the person in the van has called it, or does the referee ask for assistance?
So if it's seen that a mistake was made by the officials, the person in the van will call the referee to a halt. But the other way around, if the referee or the officials aren't sure, they can call the score assistant to start replaying over it in the van.
Okay.
And then report back in.
So they can do a Nigel Owens on it, basically. Yeah. They can stand there and call
TMO.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's literally for scores only, and that's the real important part of it.
Yeah, and that must be reassuring. I mean, Carla, I hate to bring up old wounds again. God love you, you're getting a lot of them this hour. But knowing that stuff like that is going to be really much alleviated because ladies football is taking on technology on board and moving quickly with the times, probably quicker than most sports.
Absolutely. I say it going into schools. The ladies Gaelic football it's just growing and developing rapidly, and it's brilliant for young girls coming up, and even ourselves. Like the opportunities and the facilities that are there for them is just fantastic. And I know that the point thing happened, but something like that has to happen in order for development to happen or to take place. So at the time, yes, it's a bad thing, but I think it definitely hugely improved the game, and it will help out even referees and umpires feeling that pressure that if this team gets knocked out because I called a wrong wide, they also get that help, which is important.
Yeah, I sometimes wonder perhaps the person who made that call probably finds it harder to live with than the person who suffered from it.
Absolutely. I know I've spoke to the referee that was refereeing that game, and we joke about it now, and we were playing the Interpros last year and he waved one of my points wide, which was wide. But I was slagging him saying, are you sure now that was wide? You know, you owe me one. And he was like, it'll be a massive help to them knowing that pressure is relieved.
Aishling, speaking of pressure now, like I said, you're up senior, you're playing senior hurling now, as they say, you know, even though senior football. But like when you're not watching Champions League and when you're not watching Liverpool, the training now, because you're going into senior, is it going to change and evolve for you?
Yeah, it certainly is. Obviously, it's going to be stepped up a bit in terms of management and whatever they got to do. Like we've got to look at ourselves and obviously set standards, and the management team obviously have to do whatever they've got to do to increase the standard as well. But I think it comes without saying, like, whatever you do in life, you know, if you're getting into a higher job, it's obviously going to take a lot more work, and we want to be there, we want to be now, so we've no problems with giving that extra effort to try stay up now next year and stay there and not end up back down intermediate again. So it kind of comes without saying, we don't really hesitate or blink an eye to it.
I remember it might have been 2 years ago we were working on a LIDL roadshow together, and you spoke about how you kind of thought maybe you might give up football, but your parents kept you in it. I'd say the days when you thought you might give it up, you must look back at them now and be so thankful that you were kept there.
Yeah, I did. I suppose all of us, Carla can even elaborate, all of us go through times where you're kind of half thinking, you know, will I stay, will I go? It takes an awful lot of commitment, but at the end of the day, we're choosing to be there ourselves. I remember that time when I was deciding to pack it in. I had just come from a 5-month injury, and I was my own person. I didn't have to go training, I could do what I wanted, didn't have to answer to anyone, and I kind of got a sense of this and started to like it. And I suppose one of my friends literally made me get up on a treadmill one day and she made me run, and I got that feeling of exercise again. And I suppose, look, it would probably, ever since that, I haven't looked back. I haven't had a situation like that since, so you do, but I think everyone goes through that. I think all sports, it's like work. I'm sure everyone goes into work. You're not going to love work every day, and it's the same with football, especially when you're not getting paid for it. You know, it's an added extra kind of on top of whatever else is going on in our lives. But I think it's great though. We've all got, I'm sitting here now with 3 other people. You've got stuff going on in your lives I don't know about, but we're sitting here joking and laughing about football, and that's the good thing that we get out of it. And I suppose that's an outlet for people. For people on, I know, my team as well, it's an outlet for them to. So you're going out punching a boxing bag, going out kicking a ball around the field. So it's amazing what it can do.
Glad I don't train with you punching a boxing bag.
It's amazing what it can do for people, but any sport really. I see my parents at home, they go out dancing, and that keeps them ticking over. We all need something to tick us over in our lives, and football is just something that ticks me over. So.
And definitely the way the world is moving now, girls thankfully have a bit more equality, in that you're given the option, like you said, to do something to keep ticking over that possibly we didn't have even in my generation. I'm not that much older than you. But Carla, I'm assuming, call this maybe me making an assumption that's not true, but I'm assuming when you're winning it's easier to go to training when, like Aishling said, you might be coming back from an injury or you're just not feeling it.
Yeah, I suppose when you're playing in the summer, you're winning, but so are all the other teams. It is easier to go back or to make that decision come the winter, come October, November, December, when those demons are there. If you're after losing, there's many days where you'd sit at home and say, oh, you know, I just think I'll leave this year, or I'll go travelling, I'll do these things that my other friends are doing. When you are winning, we appreciate those days, and we know we'll get back and doing it again and see if we can get that win again. So it is a little bit easier, but when you're in the middle of the season, everyone is on that level par. You're not winning or losing a championship as of yet, so it's just normal. Everyone has to go training and work hard.
And as well as that, yeah, you've no choice, but like you just said, you're a support system for each other as well.
Yeah, I just think not even in football, it's anything, jogging, walking, running. I always say it even to my little cousins, to the parents, just get them involved, and even if it's Irish dancing, get them involved in something. Because I think even with everything that's going on in the younger generation these days, there's too much going on between social media and everyone. You walk into a school and everyone's wearing the same jacket. You know, it's trying to be like each other, and no one's just being unique and being themselves. So I think in football, everyone's on the same level playing field and everyone has the same way of thinking. I personally find I automatically click with someone. I mightn't even know they play GA or whatever, and I automatically click with someone because it's like as if it's a relation. You haven't even spoken to them, but you can just relate to them. But yeah, no, it's brilliant, and I suppose it's obviously massive talk these days with mental health and stuff like that. So it's a big thing, and it's great to see the younger girls getting involved in ladies football.
It might be a bit of a deep question, but where do you think, did you find yourself that you were saying, you know, kids all wearing the same clothes and talking the same way, and you know, we all have our own uniqueness. When do you think you were comfy with being Aishling?
That's a big question.
Never.
She's finding it. Yeah, just about now. I think sport in general makes you find that position, but growing up I was such an independent person. I was daddy's girl. I loved being at home with mum and dad, and I suppose growing up along in school I probably witnessed all this going on. I wasn't that kind of person who was inclined. So I don't know if it came from my parents or where it came from, but I was kind of my own person. But I did see my other friends and stuff fall into that bracket of all that now. But I don't actually know. I don't know when it actually...
Sport probably helps though.
Yeah, sport definitely helps. I suppose even all my friends, even if I look at all my friends and my closest friends, like, they're all on the same playing field as what I am, like, we're all the same kind of on par, so...
Yeah. I mean, we're still in the whole New Year's buzz, and we'll have to wrap this conversation up, which is a shame, so I keep talking to you all evening. But since it is New Year's, obviously we both know your resolution is or your target would be to try to win the All-Ireland final. But outside of football, all three of you, what are your targets for this year?
I'll let them go first.
Lynn, you can start. I need to have a think.
Both of them are going for Grove Park at the end of it. Yeah, but for ourselves, it's an exciting year. Obviously, 20 by 20 is going to bring women's sport, as we mentioned earlier, to a new level. We've exciting programmes with the LIDL Serious Support Programme going into the schools. We have one good club with Jigsaw Ireland and LIDL, which will bring youth mental health to the fore in the clubs across the country as well. Along with all our current initiatives of Gaelic for Girls, Gaelic for Teens and everything else. So it's a busy year ahead. We're, I suppose, providing some training PR-wise as well for our players, because we're conscious that with 20 by 20 is going to be, I suppose, media wanting to talk to them and everything, so it's important we give them the skill set. But yeah, just really hoping for another exciting year of football, and
who knows? She's managed to avoid saying, you know, nothing to do with herself.
Nothing
just
to do with herself.
Liverpool
are going to win the Premiership. But yeah, you never know. These two could meet along the way, and it could be a battle that we have to get. I'll have to sit in the middle of them again.
And aside from the fighting with each other, ladies, Aishling and Carla, what's the plan for the year?
I think around when you're playing county, I suppose a lot of your life is football. So as Lynn was saying, I'm doing the programme in the schools, the #Serious Support programme, and it's brilliant getting in to see young girls, and it's that, as Aishling was saying, trying to keep them in sport. We all have had those feelings where you're feeling really bad, or you had a bad day and you just don't want to do anything, and someone pushes it or says, go on, go to training, and you come back with a smile on your face. And the programme is just about keeping girls in sport and in Gaelic football if possible, and trying to increase them or maintain them there. And I did a pledge for the 2020 campaign at the start of this year that I'd do a bit more coaching for young teams around the place, and I had a few tweets and stuff replying, it'd be great to get you back. So I think one of my goals this year will be to go and do that bit of coaching with a few teams around the place.
Great. And yourself, Aishling, last word to you. Who else?
Yeah, I suppose something like Carla said there, maybe go back to my own club and help out in the underage structure and stuff like that. So we're all football mad, football crazy in here, so I'm going to keep it football.
When you live like football, in fairness, football happens and then you slot everything else in kind of around it. Well, thank you very much, ladies, for coming in. It's been a joy to have you here for the last hour. Speaking of football, Aishling, I know you're dying to find this out. The full-time score actually did end Liverpool 1, Everton 0. That was that goal in the 72nd minute from Curtis Jones. Coming up, we'll be chatting to Leinster Rugby's Hannah O'Connor. We'll also hear from both All-Ireland Club hurling semi-finals. Lots more to come. Stay tuned.
Join that conversation. Text us on 5.